This is all getting edited out, I hope. Yeah.
Yes. There's nothing more I would want than to grow old with you. You're right. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Metacast podcast. That is the movie review podcast that explores itself, explores ourselves, and explores the self in general. My name is Ty. I'm going to be one of your co-hosts.
And I'm your other co-host, Distance, who is currently rapidly aging.
We are all rapidly aging. If you can't tell, tonight is the Metacast movie show about Old. Old is a 2021 thriller. It's written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan, based on Sandcastle by Pierre Oscar Levy and Frederick Peters.
It stars Gael Garcia Bernal, Vicky Krieps, Rufus Sewell, and Thomasine McKenzie. I think I just butchered her name. Sorry.
You got some hard names this time. I do not envy you on those four. Budget for this movie was pretty low, right around 18 million, and actually has had a positive box office take so far at 25.4 million.
The tomato meter rating is 51% with an audience score of 52%.
Yeah.
People loved this one.
Oh, yeah. So Old follows a family of four that are on vacation, and they end up with some other strangers on a beach where time passes much faster than everywhere else on Earth. So, going into this, the first thing that stood out to me was this is the first movie I've seen in theaters in well over a year. This is the first time we've done a movie recently. We're trying to do brand new movies. This is the first one that has not been available on a streaming service. So I did actually have to venture to the theater to see it. I did notice the trailers before leading into it were all horror movies. So it kind of set an expectation for me that this was going to be a lot more of a thriller than it really ended up being. There's definitely some moments in this that are pretty dark, some visually like jarring things, but it is much more a drama parable than a thriller in my opinion, I think. So there's a lot of awkward shit in this movie. In my opinion, a lot of the dialogue is very off. There's a lot of moments that are really cheesy and a lot of moments where there is just some subpar acting that really, really cuts through everything that's going on. If I need to give this a verdict, in my opinion, there were some great ideas in this. However, like we've talked about with a few movies recently, the ideas were awesome, but the execution really left something to be desired, in my opinion. And now I get it. Like it has to fit the movie medium. They had to make changes to the story. They had to like give it that solid beginning, middle, and end and everything, make it flow like a 90-minute movie. However, the story that they're trying to tell and what they're trying to convey with it, in my opinion, just works so much better as a parable. It doesn't need the movie treatment that it got for this. All of those cheesy moments that I mentioned just a little bit ago really break any sense of tension that this thriller is trying to create on screen. There's just these like laughable moments or awkward moments that like should not really be there in a thriller, in my opinion. So in summation, I do have to give this a no. I do think the movie made me think about a lot of really cool things, and I think the idea is there. However, I think really you should probably just read the graphic novel or contemplate on the ideas of mortality in another way. It's the movie gave me a lot to think about, and I'm excited to talk about it with Distance, but I don't think that it's worth your time, honestly. What about you?
So there was a movie that we watched a while ago called Dark Crimes. And I made the mistake of giving that movie a yes because I thought the concepts were interesting or intriguing or whatever, and that's not why you're watching us. So I'm not going to make that mistake again. That was early in our path as kind of movie reviewers / discussers / critics / meta movie dudes.
You get a chance for atone for your sin. That's great.
Yes, I can. Yes. I'm excited. How many people get a second chance? So yeah, I feel you on pretty much everything you said, man. Like I 100% agree with pretty much everything. Like that maybe graphic novel's better, maybe parable's a better idea. awkward moments were so awkward it broke the tension. There were a couple spots that were tense. There's another thing that bothered me about the movie that is a spoiler, so we'll have to get to that after this. But yeah, it was an interesting concept. The dialogue was poorly written. The character archetypes were ridiculous that they tried to use. A lot of stuff was really heavy-handed in a way that was just bad writing. But interesting story, interesting concepts. But I really feel like it could have been told in a different way. Like I think we pretty much agree on this episode altogether. I will say that there were some interesting concepts in the film. It did make me think about some things, but I think there's other movies. If you want a movie that's gonna put you in touch with your mortality, maybe just like watch Bucket List. Or watch
that's a good one. That's a fun watch.
Sweet November is a romantic film with Keanu Reeves in it where that's kind of involved. There's a lot more movies that can put you in touch with mortality or old age in a way that's beneficial. Hell, even the fucking Notebook, honestly, is a movie that would help you to get the same ideas but watch a higher quality film than this one. And with a title like Old, I don't think I'm ruining anything. I don't think any of what I've said is spoiling the film. If you've seen the trailers, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's all in the trailer too. Which I went into this completely blind. I had not even seen the trailer, so I didn't know what to expect. But yeah, it is pretty obvious once you watch the trailer what's going on.
Yeah. So before I give my solid verdict. Well, actually, you know what? Let me just go ahead and give the verdict. If I haven't made it obvious so far, it's no. Please, like, if you can only go to the theater, it's just don't pay theater prices to watch this. If you want to watch it, it's supposed to be on HBO Max at some point in the future. Just wait, watch it then if you must.
Or possibly read the graphic novel. That may be a much better experience, honestly.
Yeah, do that. But what? Waste if you already have an HBO Max subscription, but then you'd be wasting your time, not your money. So your call.
And time is money, friend.
So yeah, don't watch it.
Yeah, I think we both pretty much agree on that. But however, like we were saying though, there is some cool stuff to talk about. The things this movie will make you think about if you let it are, in my opinion, really important meditations to have with yourself or things to consider. However, like we were just pointing out, there's plenty of ways to do that. You don't need to see this movie is not breaking any new ground or anything like that. It is there's plenty that are going to lead you to that same mental area. And I do think that is important. So I'm excited to have some of the conversation we're going to have, but in almost no way related to the movie, just kind of literally like conversations about mortality and life and all of that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and bring out Spoiler Terry, and he can ruin this. Which actually, this is a movie that he could like easily ruin with like one or two words. It's got the traditional like M. Night Shyamalan twists in it. Like Spoiler Terry could fuck this up. So let's get to that part of the episode. Before we just kind of completely blow past the section on, are there specific plot points you would actually like to talk about?
I could rattle off a list. Most of them are complaints.
That's kind of where I'm into. A lot of it was just kind of like, oh, well, yeah. Okay, let me start with one major complaint. I want to see if this one stood out to you too. Okay, so before we understand the concept of the beach, we are shown Midsize, who we end up learning is named Midsize Sedan, and this woman that goes skinny dipping in the water, right? That is the night before all of the rest of the people show up on the beach. Why is he not already 50 years older then if he's been on that beach for the entire night? And why is that body not already decomposed if what is going on there is this sped up time? Like, it seems like it just happens when the rest of the people show up. Like, it makes no sense to me.
Yep. I mean, I didn't even think about that till just now. There were other things that annoyed the shit out of me. I didn't like the heavy foreshadowing at the beginning when he's like, "Oh yeah, for special guests only." Like, It's just like, aha, how ominous. Like, that's like when they meet in Cabin in the Woods, when they meet Malachi at the gas station. except Cabin in the Woods intended for that to be cheesy. Like they wanted it to be ridiculous.
Yep.
So they did it on purpose, and I don't. Sometimes I wonder if M. Night Shyamalan's direction is sometimes intended for things to be silly.
I think so. He's got enough experience and enough movies under his belt at this point that it has to. It's not like it's his first movie where he doesn't understand the process and the reality of what's going on. Like and just like one of the things that weirded me out the most about this movie, the pacing felt so off in so many places. But I think that may be intentional to drive home more of the theme of the movie. Like, honestly, like if you've got a movie where the whole idea is time is working differently, like if you screw up the pacing, the audience can feel that as part of the theme, like in how the pacing is happening. But
that's true.
There was also, you're talking about the heavy-handed foreshadowing, though. There is a major foreshadow early that I caught. I want to know if you caught it. When they were exploring the hotel room, the brochures that are there are from a medical facility, like a medical company.
What?
And that's why, like, yeah, because the guy, he talks about the fact that he's a, I forget what the name of his title was, but he's like an analyst for like basically medical insurance data. And he even picks up an actuary. Thank you. Yeah. He picks up the brochure and talks about how like his company works with that company. He like, so if you're paying attention, you kind of catch the whole medical experiment thing, like literally, like I think it's 6-7 minutes into the movie.
I didn't even think about that. Like it was just so early. I guess I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. I don't know. Like I guess in a lot of cases, when a movie has a premise you kind of know is coming, it's almost like anticipation of that happening and not really wanting it to hurry up and get there. So I wasn't really paying that much attention until like they get like invited to this special spot or whatever. Mm-hmm. But there was one thing I was really bothered by how hard they went with the like hot selfish doctor's wife thing.
Oh yeah,
like and like
Crystal?
taking selfies. Yeah, like taking selfies on the beach. I'm like, really? That's so ridiculous. Like, did they really have to add that? Like, well, I was like, okay, are we supposed to dislike this character? Like, are they trying to motivate the audience to not like the character so then something will happen later? I thought it was fucking lame that the doctor says, one dude says that his head felt really like something like that, like he had a headache or whatever. Then the doctor's like, intense cranial pressure. Like, what? Like you made the doctor say that? Like, I don't know how many doctors actually say that outside of like work.
Yeah, like if they're writing a medical report, they would probably word it that way. But if they're talking to a lot of people that aren't doctors, I don't think they would chime in with that. Yeah.
And I hate the fact that they leaned so much on the professions of the characters. Like the psychologist is like, maybe we should talk about what's happening. And like while she's panicking, then she says something about like group psychosis, and
even the little kids like running around asking everyone like, "Hey, what is your profession?" Like, yeah, it's kind of strange.
It seemed odd to me, like that's how you're choosing to develop the characters and their behavior. Like I don't know, man. I don't think the characters had anything to them.
Yeah.
Let me see what else pissed me off. Oh, the surgery scene was weird and gross, and it didn't make sense that you could hold that open or whatever, and like while they're pulling the tumor out, and the other thing is that this is what I was saying about M. Night Shyamalan movies now, is that you're expecting the twist and the contrast between what you think and what is, it needs to be stark and drastic, and it just isn't in this movie.
It's really not.
It was the same in The Village, not to spoil it, but like the contrast wasn't there. I don't really
there is one part I liked about the surgery scene where, excuse me, so I did not like the automatic closing and the trying to think through the details of how that would happen, because it's like, okay, so sure, it makes sense that if you're on this beach where time is passing really quickly, that things would heal a lot quicker, but every little part of that incision would be healing that way. Like trying to remove the tumor, it would be like the cells around it would be like heal. Like, yeah, like none of that in my mind made sense. However, the part I did like was the doctor what is that Jack Nicholson movie that Marlon Brando was in together? What was that? Apparently, like, I mean, so
Is there one?
Yes, there is. It's called The Missouri Breaks. But
Oh.
so the point though that they're trying to drive home is that, you know, something mentally is going on with the doctor. They even kind of hint at it a little earlier in the movie. One thing that is really kind of cool is I learned that that was apparently inspired by actual talks that Shyamalan had with his father when his father was going through dementia. And there was like an almost verbatim moment like that where they were in a completely different moment, different conversation. Then all of a sudden his dad is just completely super fixed on like, oh, what is this movie with Marlon Brando and Jack Nicholson in it together? And like, so that he used that for that character, which I thought was kind of cool. When people draw on their own like life experiences with real loved ones, I think that it means a lot more and it's cooler. But the scene in itself, yeah, was really weird.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why I like Chuck Palahniuk as an author. It's because when you listen to him talk about his books, there's so much of his life that goes into that stuff. And I don't know why I'm bringing Chuck Palahniuk into this, but like if you hear him talk about it, like there's a lot of life events that influence the way that he writes stuff. So I mean, I think it's cool that M. Night Shyamalan added something that was essentially verbatim from his life.
Yeah.
Or the fact that Chuck Palahniuk uses the books also as kind of like a coping device for what is going on with his life too. That's another thing that's kind of cool. But beside the point, we're talking about M. Night Shyamalan here. And,
this always happens when we do bad movies, though, where we try to get away from the subject as much as possible. We'll like do whatever we can to venture off onto like a tangent.
I'm doing it. It's like the two things happen when in both of the shows that we do on here. I always want to get away from the bad movie and talk about something else. And every time we talk about a song on the Metacast Music Dudes, I always want to make it about the bass.
Oh yeah, you are all about that bass.
So
no trouble.
I'm kind of like the doctor. I'm like, now let's focus on the problem at hand. What about the bass?
Did you guys hear that bass tone though?
What band were Marlon Brando and Jack Nicholson in together where they both played bass?
That'd be a good band. Yeah, I would see that band.
I would totally listen to them. I'm just kind of scrolling through the shit that I had in here that pissed me off about it. Okay, Jaren doesn't know his athletic abilities at the point where he's asking who can swim out here and then swim this way, and then later on he's like, I was on a swim team. Like, well, why didn't you say that when you were trying to get somebody to swim out there?
Well, hold on. I think the initial conversation was about everyone doing it together, and he was trying to figure out who thinks they would be able to do that, and he was like literally the only one that thought they would be able to handle it, and that's why they kind of abandoned it. At least that's how I read that scene. And then later, once time was running out more, he was like, okay, fine, I'm going to go for this idea and see if I can bring people back. But I may have misread it, but that's how it read to me, though.
There's like when God, I gotta remember her name. I actually need to look at it. The young daughter of the doctor.
Oh, Kara.
Kara. Okay, so I found it irritating. I'm actually jumping around different plot points here.
That's fine.
The whole thing where I am so irritated by so much about this movie that, okay, as Kara is climbing the rock face trying to sort of escape, and like his dad is giving him like relationship advice that's supposed to be, he's like, you have to talk to each other. Like, what? Like, I just, the problem is that writing something like this, there's a way to handle this stuff. Like there's a way to handle the things that are happening. There's a way to handle direction and dialogue for people who are young but getting old. It's like, it's just weird that you have to get people that are older to act in a way that is younger, but it's a hard thing to do. It's a difficult thing to do. And I know, I get that he didn't want to put A-list actors in the movie because... Actually, for instance, Marcus Luttrell did not want an A-list actor to play him in Lone Survivor. But obviously, because you know who's going to survive. He wanted it. He wanted the audience to not know who was going to. But when they cast Mark Wahlberg, it's like, well, obviously. And I get that maybe that's why why he you know, I don't know who did the casting, but I'm sure he had something to do with it. I don't know if that's why they cast it this way, if they didn't want it to be obvious who survived or who didn't.
Maybe, yeah.
And also,
I didn't even consider that. That's interesting, though.
on the subject of healing quickly, how was he able to kill the rapper dude? How was mid-sized sedan, or was it Brendan? Isn't that what he says his name is later?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think. I mean, enough like quick cuts, you would still like, because it still takes some time to heal. It's not like he's
Right.
Deadpool, you know, where it's instantly. But it's like, I guess, like if he was stabbing him enough times quickly, that eventually you're gonna, you know, do some sort of damage that the body's not able to repair quick enough and cause death. Like it still is silly, but it's like Yeah, it's. There was a lot in this that was just. Oh man. So how do you feel about that pregnancy? That was when I saw the trailer afterwards, I was like, I can't believe they showed that in the trailer. That like, if you watch the trailer and you're paying attention to what's going on, it is very obvious. And you read the name Old, and then you see this like young, basically like toddler, and then you see the same clothes on this like, you know, teenage girl that is pregnant. At a certain point, you're going to piece together like, hold on, either the Immaculate Conception is happening on this beach or something really weird is going on.
I don't know, man. Like everything about that was really weird. And then like later on, when they're like the adult trying to figure out what happened with the whole pregnancy thing, and it's like, we were just playing. Like, what? And like later on, so I was like, well, what you did is how you make a baby. And he was like, I thought you had to do that like a lot of times.
Yeah, you
like,
got to do it at least 10 times.
It's almost like they did it. Also, like the whole idea that like, we dropped it, and we dropped it. We laid the baby down the towel, and the baby died of neglect. Like, wait, why is that the conclusion that you're drawing right now? Like, I have heard of this really inhumane experiment that was run by a behavioral researcher at some point, related to the idea that, you know, people can, you know, the babies can actually perish from that sort of thing. But it also was like, that was before there were like really ethics in any kind of research that people were doing. But like, I get that that's a thing, but why does that have to be the conclusion that you come to in the moment?
Well, I've got a better question. Well, at least I'm sorry. I don't want to call my question better than yours, but I think it's a one level back question. Why was that part even in the movie to begin with? It was completely inconsequential, had absolutely nothing to do with the plot. Like literally, like if you cut out those 5 minutes, doesn't fucking matter at all. Never comes up again later. Like it's literally just like M. Night had these ideas of like, all right, if we're on a beach where time's passing really quickly, this could happen, then this could happen, then like, and you're just spitballing ideas. But for some reason, like, you know, I know there's the saying that there's no judging in a brainstorm. You're supposed, but like the whole point is like you edit it later and you get the bad ideas out of there. And that's one where it's like, sure, that's an idea to think about, but like I'm saying, it had absolutely no consequence to the rest of the plot whatsoever. Did not even need to be in there. So like, yeah, why have the baby be born and die instantly for what point? Like I don't get it.
Yeah. It seems like that it was just a way to freak out the audience, honestly. Like I really just think he was like in writing that scene, it was just trying to freak the audience out. But once again, it's like we've talked about this on several occasions on a couple different movies. Like how did this get past the editing floor?
Yeah.
Like it's astounding that even it got as far as it did. And there's a lot of scenes that have gotten to like the part where they get cut. That's a normal thing. It is very oftentimes astounding that they even get to the point where they're filmed, but they get edited out. Somebody cuts it, you know?
Yep. You know, maybe they spent too much of the budget on the CG of her stomach growing. They're like, well, we can't cut this. We sunk $3 million into this scene. Like it has to happen.
And then there's like all these ways of trying to. Oh, you think that scene was that expensive?
No, I was just thinking that afterwards. I've never tried to outsource like good CG editing, so I have no idea what the price would actually be. But
well, if you ever do, make sure it's a scene of me giving birth on a beach.
I would love to. Yeah, we'll have you getting pregnant and it's really fast and you can just see your stomach growing and then all of a sudden we have a baby and then I put it down for a second and it dies. That would make a really cool short story.
Yep. Because it's like, okay, I see. Okay, the baby thing happens. You realize you don't really know how to explain the baby in the plot. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe they just couldn't figure out. Because that's the thing. It didn't even occur to me.
In the this is one difference I do know with the graphic novel. In the graphic novel, it ends with so spoilers for the graphic novel version as well. It ends with just that child being the lone survivor. The child that was born on that beach and knows nothing other than the beach, building a sandcastle. And that's just, it's, you know, and that's kind of a cool parable ending, but it doesn't work for the movie. That would be a super like dark, bleak ending that I don't think American film going audiences would enjoy at all. So I understand why they didn't use that ending for that. But it's like, if you're cutting out the consequence that the baby had in the plot, why even have that to begin with, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. The complete trash ending that we got instead is much better for the American audience.
Unfortunately, yes, it really is. Yeah, like
the rust scene.
That was so cringy. It makes sense, but like, I love how they even had to have her be like, explain it. Like, rust acts like a poison while it's in your blood. Ha! It's like, it was such like a cheesy moment.
It's funny because I've noticed that I'm thinking really hard. I have never heard an actual medical professional say bloodstream. Because that's what she says. I wrote it down in quotes.
Yeah, it would be cardiovascular system, right?
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever actually. I'm not saying that they don't say it. I've just never heard someone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, I haven't really had any problems with my circulatory system. Knocking on some wood there. So I haven't really been to a place, but it's just like the use of the word bloodstream just always seems like a bro science kind of thing to say.
That's pretty true.
Like, I don't know. It's just like so much of the dialogue sounds like it's from 1993.
Yeah, and I almost got a vibe early in the movie that the strange dialogue was on purpose. Like, do you remember when we talked about, or we didn't actually do an episode on it, but The Lobster? How there's a point in that movie where the dialogue is just even the Killing of a Sacred Deer kind of had the same kind of thing where the dialogue is just really, really off, and it sets the tone of like, okay, in this universe, that's how people talk, and it's really weird and off-putting, and it's different than the world you live in. But this has just like it mixed in every once in a while where lines are just very, very awkward. It's like, well, hold on, is it just bad writing, or what is this? Like, was it purposeful? I couldn't put my finger on it.
And there have been a few movies we've done where the dialogue has been so awful, and we always compare it to like Killing of a Sacred Deer or The Lobster, where we know that the dialogue was done kind of awkwardly on purpose. Mm-hmm. But the strength, I think, in those films, and I cannot remember who's the creator, who's it that produced those?
Hold on, I forget his name.
It's a difficult name. I remember that.
Yeah, Yorgos Lanthimos.
Okay.
It's a Greek name. My Greek pronunciation is probably horrible.
That guy. And I think that speaks to like the way that the films are created, that we can tell, like we know that that's happening, mm-hmm. and that there's a reason for it, and it's clear to the audience. And the thing is that, you know, I think that, you know, the kind of, what do they call it, like the copy pasta thing about Rick and Morty. Mm-hmm. That you have to be like really intelligent to understand it. Like you have to be on like a very high IQ or whatever. That is like, I don't believe in the concept of that. I understand that that's a joke, but it's like, it's not that I'm not a dumb moviegoer. I don't think, because when it is explained well, I get it. And if the audience doesn't get, or not explained, expressed, I guess, in the filmmaking, when it's expressed well, I get it. And when it's not, I don't. And the thing is it's like, oh God, I talk about this guy all the time. I think it was Christoph Waltz that said, oh God, no, it wasn't Christoph Waltz. Every time we talk about it, we go back to Tropic Thunder, Lazarus. It sounds like something Lazarus would say.
Okay, yep.
It's not about your motivation or what you're feeling when you're acting the scene. It's how the audience feels. I think Christoph Waltz said it, but I can't remember. But dude, was there a car outside your place?
Did I pick that up? Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh wow, I just heard that. I wonder if the audience could hear it too.
If you could, they could. Yeah.
But you know, it's like, it's one of those things where it's about if the audience can get it. That's the
Yeah.
thing that matters, I think. And if the
Yeah.
audience doesn't get it, then then I don't know, like, is this movie just garbage, or are you trying to do a thing that I don't understand? And I don't.
I don't think it's M. Night Shyamalan's worst work, but I definitely think it's far from his best too. Like this is
And
no like Airbender, Last Airbender.
I didn't even watch that. I've given up on this guy's work a while ago. Like, I remember, like, Sixth Sense was great, but Signs was fun.
Dude, honestly, I know you don't like horror movies, and this one is definitely more horror than thriller, but The Visit from 2015 was actually pretty decent. I enjoyed that. Like, that one was pretty well done. It made me think that there was like a possible, like, you know, comeback for M. Night Shyamalan where things were gonna get better. And honestly, I know we talked about the last episode too. You haven't really picked up watched these movies, but when he finished the trilogy, the Unbreakable trilogy with Splice and Glass, those were pretty decent. Splice, in my opinion, I think Splice was actually really good, and I think Glass could have been better, but served as a good capstone and end to that trilogy where it told its story well, it did what it needed to do. But yeah, those were head and shoulders above the quality of what we saw in Old, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that was like 1998 or 97 is when The Sixth Sense came out.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, The Sixth Sense is older, yeah, but those were newer because like he started hold on, there's M. Night Shyamalan movies. He started that trilogy with Unbreakable literally, you know, back in 2000, and then didn't make Split until 2016, and then Glass in 2019. So there was a 16-year gap where he didn't even pick back up on that story at all.
I think that the problem for him was that he was very hyped up in the 90s when Unbreakable came. When The Sixth Sense came out.
That was 99. Yep.
A lot of people really liked Unbreakable when it came out. I remember really enjoying it, and I think he maybe just waited a bit too long for the next film.
Possibly.
I know that a lot of people were very excited and like were super stoked about going to see Splice and then Glass. They're super stoked about both of those movies when they came out, but the sort of the general public that aren't crazy fans, they had sort of forgotten a little bit. And I think that there's just so much about his early career that a lot of people felt was so promising, and there was so much hype around his movies that it just kind of it's hard to live up to that anymore, you know?
Okay.
That whole my own worst enemy thing.
I just had my mind completely blown with something. So when I Googled M. Night Shyamalan movies, all of the ones that, you know, I knew of popped up here, you know, like if we want to talk about, you know, like you just brought up, starting with The Sixth Sense, and then, you know, 1 year later he released Unbreakable. 2 years later he released Signs. Another little one popped up here from 1999 that I had absolutely no idea. Stuart Little. Apparently the screenplay was by M. Night Shyamalan and Greg Broker, or like, I don't know how to pronounce that last name, but I had no idea M. Night Shyamalan had anything to do with the Stuart Little screenplay. That to me is somewhat hilarious. And also the movie After Earth, apparently. Do you remember that movie with Will Smith and his son?
Oh, I didn't watch it.
It wasn't great, but he was also screenplay writer on that and director on that. Had absolutely no idea.
I'm seeing the movie She's All That, starring forgotten heartthrob Freddie Prinze Jr. That's one of the stars, co-stars.
That popped up
was
too.
His?
I don't see his name anywhere on the wiki, so I have no idea why that's coming up here.
I thought Devil was okay, and Devil actually had some awkwardness that contributed to it. I think The Happening was dog shit. The Village had a shit ending.
Oh, hold on. R. Lee Fleming Jr. is officially credited as the sole screenwriter for the film, but in a 2002 interview, M. Night Shyamalan stated that he helped polish the screenplay while adapting Stuart Little and writing the spec script for The Sixth Sense. So he worked on it, but is not credited on the She's All That the screenplay. That's why.
And you know, it's funny because The Happening, now that I'm thinking about it, because I was looking at this body of work and thinking that it's weird he was working on The Sixth Sense while he was also working on Stuart Little and
True.
She's All That.
Yep.
like, or helping out with it. The Happening was another movie where the acting and the dialogue was odd. Like, there were moments where Mark Wahlberg was speaking. I'm like, is he being coached to act badly? Because the thing is Mark Wahlberg's not a terrible actor.
No, not at all. Yeah. Well,
he's actually
he's got a pretty narrow lane. Like when he plays like a Boston cop, oh, he's great. But when you try to get him to play anything outside of that, you're gonna get a Boston cop playing the other role.
Yeah, that's true. Dude, have you seen this? There's he has a clothing company.
Does he really? I had no idea.
Yeah, you'll never guess. It's athleisure clothing.
Oh, I mean that makes sense.
Yeah, it's
what is it called?
I don't want to whatever.
Oh,
you're not sponsoring us, but we'll plug you anyway. Municipal.
Oh, municipal clothing. Okay, that's.
Some of the clothing looks like, I don't know, if the t-shirts actually sound like they might be reasonably good technology. So I've thought about maybe, but they're expensive, so I don't know. If I do, I'll put like a review on YouTube or some shit because they're so fucking expensive.
I know a good birthday or Christmas present for you. I'm totally buy you a municipal shirt.
Hey. It's like I'm trying really hard to get away from it.
but yeah, so
Mark Wahlberg's clothes.
Circling back though, M. Night, I mean, he has had a decent career with a few bad movies and a few good movies. Like he's not at all my favorite filmmaker, but I'm not going to say that all of his work is trash. You know, there's a few that I really enjoyed. But yeah, I don't think Old is anywhere near the best of the bunch. I think that it suffers a lot by a lot of what goes on during it. And I mean, like we both talked about, the core ideas are really cool. The stuff that the movie made me think about that we're going to get to a little later, I think is great, but you don't need this movie to get you to that headspace.
That's true. Yeah, I agree. And you know, I think that I understand that what was done was they wanted us to think about a lot of things.
Yeah.
But like you said, like there's a different or better way to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. If it's just not, it's just not. It's just not good film.
It's really not. Okay, thought experiment. Would you have liked it if it was a lot darker and more horror-esque? Like, for instance, like if this was not an M. Night Shyamalan movie, if this was Ari Aster made Old, do you think you would like it more, or do you think that the idea itself as a screenplay, just in a 90-minute movie, just isn't really going to work out ever? Do you think it really was at fault of writer director, or do you think that it's the adaptation itself?
You got to remember what else he's done.
Oh, that's the Hereditary Midsummer guy.
Hereditary.
Yeah.
I think. If it were, because see, here's the problem though, man. Like, because sometimes filmmakers, when they go dark, they pull a Miley Cyrus. They just
start twerking. What do you?
They're just trying so hard to freak you out.
Okay.
That it's like clearly just so deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and I think that sometimes filmmakers go over the top with the darkness,
like the Crystal in the cave scene, where that was just obviously the Crystal was the girl with the bone to calcium deficiency. Yeah, yep. Like that's obviously just there to freak you out. That whole entire scene is right. Like it's like a part of a haunted house ride. There was no point of that to like tie into the rest of the movie whatsoever. Like, yeah.
Also, speaking of which, is there something about getting older that makes your makeup runny?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Huh. Apparently that's the thing in this universe.
As you age, the your tear ducts just tend to leak more. So constantly, like if you wear any sort of like mascara or eyeshadow or anything, like as like an older woman, it will like run much more than a younger woman.
Is that a thing? Like,
no, I completely made that up. Yeah, it sounded legit though, right? Like,
I mean, I feel like there's many people that would believe it. Like you said it in a way. I mean, yeah.
It happens with dogs. Have you ever noticed that like older dogs, they'll always have like stuff leaking around their eyes? Yeah, that was kind of my inspiration for that. But yeah,
I haven't seen that. Cats too. Hamsters even. Just kidding. I've never seen a hamster. I've never even had a hamster. Okay, there's one scene I don't have a complaint about, but I don't get it.
Which one?
there's a part where mid-sized sedan is walking with crap, what's her name? Maddox.
Okay.
And he says he wants to tell her that his real name and that he's basically a suburban kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then she says that's beautiful, and then starts saying something about colors.
Yeah.
And I was totally confused by everything she said right then.
I remember being really weirded out, not weirded out, but like thinking that didn't really make much sense either. The only thing that I could try to make sense in my mind was that like was the writing of that scene supposed to really drive home that she was just 10 or 11 a few minutes ago, and that like doesn't know how to have that kind of conversation really, and tries to relate it to whatever she could say, and that's like the best she could do. But it did not read clearly like that to me at all. That's me kind of grasping for straws as like a way to make that make sense.
There's just so much inconsistency with how they make them act youthful and then act older, and there was just no consistency in the writing. So yeah, I mean that does make sense. It was just weird to me.
I do think Alex Wolff and Thomasin McKenzie did do a good job in their performances of like trying to portray someone that is in a 16, 17-year-old body or whatever, but then is mentally still something very different. I don't think it was their performances. I think it was the writing, like you're saying, that really is the detriment there.
Which is, I think that both of them are much older than the characters too. Like Alex Wolff is like, isn't he like 25 or something?
Well, I know Thomasin McKenzie is like 21.
He's 20.
Oh my God! Today is 2 days ago was her birthday, July 26th. She turned 21, so she was probably wasted 2 days ago.
Probably.
Alex Wolff was born in 97, so yeah, he would be 24, give or take, or turning 24 later this year. Yeah.
But yeah, they did. I think they really did well in those roles. Like they did the best with what they were given.
Yeah, I agree.
And one compliment that I have is when the guy's body washes up.
Jaren, the nurse.
Yeah. Also I looked it up. It's pronounced Thomasin.
Thomasin. Okay. Thomasin.
Yeah, or Thomasin. I don't really know where the emphasis is. And
it's on the other syllable. Yeah.
But her terror acting is really good. Yeah. Like when he kind of washes up, like the wide-eyed kind of like terror that she does, like probably in my opinion, it was only a few seconds, but it's some of the best acting in the film. And I thought, I would really want to see this person in some scarier shit in the future. I think she could do well in a survival horror film.
Ooh, that would be cool to see. There is another movie that she was fantastic in. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Things? Yeah, she was in this movie called Leave No Trace. That was the first time I saw her, and she was fucking fantastic in that. If you've never seen that movie, I think you would really enjoy the subject matter and everything that goes on in that. That's a really cool movie. It's a 2018 movie, I believe. But yeah,
she apparently was in Jojo Rabbit also. I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either.
It's a weird movie.
How old cool is that? What is Jojo Rabbit? I don't remember.
It came out like a year or two ago. It's like it's a satirical film where the guy's imaginary friend is Hitler.
I do remember that. I don't know if I ever saw it, but oh my God, yeah, that's a Taika Waititi movie.
Mm-hmm. He plays Hitler.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Oh my God.
I love that movie. Is one of the most hilariously satirical. Like it's really good. It's got what's his name? I can never remember his name. He plays Hammer in Iron Man. Sam Rockwell.
Oh yes, I love him. Yeah.
He's in it too.
I'm so excited. I still haven't seen Vice, where oh my God, where Christian Bale plays Dick Cheney. Sam Rockwell plays. I haven't seen it either. Sam Rockwell plays George W. Bush. I cannot wait to see that. Like, I feel like he would be a great W.
Okay, adding things to my list.
That was one that I put on. That's actually on the list for possible year 3 movies if there's a week where nothing new is coming out. Vice is one that I really want to see that. Christian Bale is able to drastically change his body for roles, and I love it. Like when he went from the Machinist to Batman in like a year, literally, and then like, I mean, and then of course years and years later, but went like super overweight to play Dick Cheney.
It's like Christian Bale. Like I can't stand him because, okay, he's such a obnoxiously method actor, but he's so fucking good.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's like I want to hate the guy, but I just can't. Like, for instance, and this is completely off subject, Lewis Hamilton is a world champion Formula One race car driver.
Okay.
I'm tired of seeing the guy win, but he's such a good guy. It's like I can't hate the dude. Like but it's the same. It's Sam Christian Bale. Like he's so obnoxiously method, but he does such good work. And here we go again.
I feel
talking about anything but this god awful movie.
I feel the exact same way about Daniel Day-Lewis. He's like he's just so good in everything that like I normally kind of hate the method like thing. I think it's kind of cheesy, but it's like if he does great work using it, then who am I to say something? Yeah. But yeah.
Like if it works, it works. And then there's other actors that don't really seem to be like well versed in technique, yet they somehow do a good job.
Yeah. Yep. Let's see. What else do you have in notes here? Anything else you want to talk about as far as like main points before we just talk more about the concepts of the movie? Which we can always like tie back into points of the movie if we need to during the concepts, of course.
Yeah. Hold on. I just realized another thing needs to go in another thing in another place in my notes. Okay.
Ooh, whoa. You're putting stuff inside of stuff over there?
Yeah, things are going inside of other things.
Making those mac and cheese noises?
Yeah. I've never heard that before, but it's very funny. Hold on. One more thing I really want to fucking bitch about really quick. Okay. Maybe I don't understand the concept. And it's funny, I wanted to highlight any of the good stuff I had to say, and I already said it. The terror acting scene, that's it. Okay. All right. So it's nice when filmmakers recognize plot holes and then they fill them. But there's a problem,
like exactly what they did in the Tomorrow War, where they built that into the plot, right? Like,
right. But it's a problem when it's like I would rather you leave the hole than try to fill it terribly.
Okay.
And in some cases, I would, when they try to,
Is there a specific plot hole you're talking about?
The hair and nails thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That guy's a shitty nurse. I'm just saying, the quote, cells in hair and nails are dead. Isn't that keratin?
Well, that's it. It's kind of, I mean, it's kind of true, but the
follicle produces it.
Yes, exactly. That, yeah.
And then your nails are, is it the cuticle itself that actually produces the nail?
Yeah, exactly. So
but that stuff isn't dead.
I mean, Benny, we both definitely gave it a no. I would say this is more of a 3 out of 10, in my opinion. I do think, I will say, I mean, like, I think you came in a little late. You didn't hear me in the very beginning. But I will say that, like, the stuff that the movie made me think about, I do think is really, really cool. And I think it's important thoughts to have. But I don't think you necessarily need this movie to get you to that headspace. So as far as, like, if you're someone that likes to think deeply about things, then, yeah, this movie can really put some cool ideas in your head and make you realize some things. But so can plenty of other books or media or other movies or any number of other things, or just literally just kind of contemplating, meditating on your mortality. Like that is probably going to get you more than this did. So yeah, as far as a movie, yeah, I would say really probably like a 3-4 out of 10. Yeah.
Yep. And if you want to see the beginning where we just gave our quick review, that's the Should You Watch playlist. So it'll be on there.
Sure. Thank you.
A couple days. So yeah,
oh God, you just gave me a deadline now. Now I have to actually edit this and get it.
Like like I said, a
couple is 2
of a number of cycles of the days and nights. Yeah, I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 10. But if I could do a 2 out of 10, I might actually go so low as that. The
Yeah.
concept is cool, but it would have been better with a different writer, director, and maybe a couple different actors.
I think,
Maybe.
honestly, I haven't read it, but from what I've heard about it, I think the graphic novel it's based off of is just going to be a much better way to absorb this story. The story works really well as a parable with a crazy open ending that the graphic novel has and everything, and like the movie changes so much and turns it into something so different that, yeah, honestly, I don't like that was my thought experiment with the Ari Aster thing. It's like, I don't know if a different writer director could have saved this. It may just be that the ideas and the pacing and everything of this just doesn't necessarily work as a 90-minute or 2-hour movie or whatever. But
and Ari Aster just would have made it obnoxiously dark.
True.
I think that the movie would have sucked no matter who did it. They should have just given it to Michael Bay. More explosions.
I wish that we could like live in a universe where we could just travel to other universes like that, where it's like, oh yeah, there's the other universe where Michael Bay directed Old. Let's go watch it there. And like, or like, I would enjoy that.
There's another word where Arnold Schwarzenegger is in Demolition Man instead of Sly. Like, that would be fun. There was crap. I was thinking something about the movie and now I don't know what it is. Oh, okay. This is like a heavy spoiler. We're in spoilers, so it doesn't matter. But M. Night Shyamalan has tastefully put himself in his own films before, but he did not do it tastefully in this one.
Yes. I thought he was just going to be the person driving them to the beach. And I was fine with that when he just popped up and turned around and talked to them from the bus and then helped them carry the stuff. Didn't even help him carry the stuff, just helped him get the stuff out of the back. But yeah, whenever he ended up being so tied into that part of the plot and everything, like, yeah, I thought that was a little much.
Yeah, it was. Stanley did it better.
I mean,
rest in peace.
I can't hate, because I'm sure if I was a filmmaker, I would also be putting myself in films. You know, like I can't be judgmental, but
in a way that was like cute, funny, or interesting. You know, like not even interesting, just cute or funny, like, or clever.
I would try to. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't make films, but if I did, they'd have a samurai. And if you don't get that reference, you're too young to date me.
I cannot believe you just used that line. I love it though. I love it.
I just did it. Let's do what nature wanted us to do. Dumb line. There's even a bureaucracy at their company. Like, submit a form and then maybe we can put the mentally ill people in a different place. Also, like the fact that like the simple, like, hey, are you a police officer? Hey, mister, which I guess is exactly what someone who's that age but not that age would do.
Yeah, I mean, they set it up earlier where he knew. They asked him what his job was, and he's a police officer. So that was, I mean, finally when it did circle around to that, and at least that part of the kids acting weird made sense, where at least it tied back in. But I thought it was just gonna be this open-ended thing of like, that's what these kids do, just run around asking people their profession.
That is true. That would have been funny if that was just the gag that they did. Then, you know, like, I guess this is more of a meta thing, the whole greater good argument.
Yes, that is one of the first points I have in the meta argument, the meta segment.
Yeah, because I got nothing else to complain about this movie. I mean, there's tons of other things, but
well, so how do you feel about that whole greater good argument? Where, like, I mean, if you're you know, brutally honest and just kind of take morality out of it, sure, what that company is doing is for the greater good. But I think there's a reason why we don't do shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, these are outside of ethics, like in developed countries with, you know, the ethical principles in medicine. Mm-hmm. This is outside of the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. The thing is, though, like that's kind of a gray area kind of concept anyway. But in this case, what you're doing is unethical clinical trials on people, and and the only way they could do this is in secret. I'm not sure how they employed the people that they did. I don't know if this is some kind of alternate universe that is that much different than where we live. Mm-hmm. But you know, for me, it's like.
Yeah, I feel like that would leak very easily. Mm-hmm. You've got that many people in a room that all know what's going on, rather than it being compartmentalized. Compartmentalized, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Yeah, well, if you take morality out of the equation, when there's no conversation to have, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
it's just math.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly. Yeah.
this many people die, so this many can be saved. And then if you do it like that, well, then okay, that makes sense. But it's the fact that we have these ideas of how to care for people and things like that.
Yep.
And
that we value people being their own, their own independent entities that can make their own decisions, that we don't
right.
we don't lie to people and put them into studies like that where they don't know what they're doing, or like we've agreed as an entire society that it's definitely not right.
And it's just outside of the norms of how. And how do you explain when you come up with a medication or something that you can administer, like an injection of some kind? How do you explain how you developed it? When this is what you're doing.
True. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
And how do you explain that somehow you do? Because I imagine what they would do. This is just going outside of the film. The fan fiction. I'm writing fan fiction, Ty. It's if you would do a clinical trial and have a crazy high success rate the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Because they would have to disguise it somehow. They'd have to have an explanation of a clinical trial. It would start to raise an eyebrow if it's weird that these people's success rate is so high.
Unless the entire medical industry is in on it. It's not just one company, right? It's like, put on the tinfoil hat. It's literally, it's all doctors.
Yeah,
it's run by Fauci. Oh my God. That would have been the funniest edit into this movie. That it was like literally Dr. Fauci running.
Wow, I think I might try to find a way to edit something together after this.
That would be great.
That would be a really funny joke to do. But it's like, it was interesting just on the subject of conspiracy theories. I was listening to an individual talk about those types of things. That for a conspiracy theory, the larger the conspiracy, the less likely it is.
Yes. Yeah.
Because of how difficult it is to coordinate that many people.
Yes.
So
yeah. Well, that's why I started talking about things being Jesus, I don't know why I'm like really struggling with that word tonight. If things are oh my God.
Carpal tunnel syndromes.
Yes. If things have carpet that match the drapes, then no. If things are super compartmentalized like that, where people are working on things they don't actually know the big picture, then there is a possibility where secrets don't get out because literally no one knows the secrets other than a very select few at the top. But that is not what we were seeing in this movie at all. All of those like low level medical engineers in that entire like open room knew what was going on, and it's like, yeah, there would be leaks like crazy. That would just not happen.
Yeah, but I mean, that's really the only thing I got as far as meta goes, like the greater good thing. Most of the stuff in here for me was the self-reflection.
Well, there was one thing that I wanted to talk about. The kind of like the idea that this really made me think about our experience of time and how we understand that time in our universe is not a static thing. Like like in Interstellar, like time dilation is a thing. If you're going super fast, if you're near like a gravitational field, time changes for how you experience it. So it's kind of cool to see like humans going through a completely different experience of time. And it's like, it made me think about like, well, why, we only view our pacing of time as correct because that's what we know it to be. And it's like, there's still the same shit that happens in a normal life, just so much faster. Where like you were talking about earlier, like the dad taking time to tell the son about like, basically love and life advice in a moment where it doesn't really make sense. But it's like, does it ever really make sense in life? Because if you're condensing down, a 50-year time period to something, it's like they've got all sorts of other shit that's going on at that time in there. It's like you would like in our normal experience of that timeline, it's like, oh, well, you're taking time to talk to his son about that while he's busy with, high school or college, or it's like, well, yeah, but it's like we have to find the time to do those things while we have the time to do it. And it's like, it was kind of cool just to like think about things in a completely different, strange experience of time like that.
Speechless.
Dude,
like, yeah,
Benny, that is even our motto for the should you watch section. It's like, we waste our time so you don't have to. So yeah, I'd honestly like, yeah, if you trust our opinions, I think we may have saved you some time and money on this one.
Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on, Ty. How much did you pay for your movie ticket?
$9.95. It was almost $10.
Bro, $7.
Seven. Oh, because you went on a weekday instead, I guess. Mine was weekend matinee too. It was like a 4 p.m. time. Yo, what's up, Chelsea? But yeah, so yeah, it was $10. Which yeah, honestly, like, if I would have rented this for $10, and this is one I think. So when we talked about The Conjuring 3 recently, we talked about how that would have been a better watch in a theater, just because that type of horror movie usually works a lot better in that type of environment. I think this movie would have been a better watch at home in my living room with a few friends. If we could have paused it and talked at certain times and stuff like that, it's like that would have been, I think, a more enjoyable watch than in the theater. I did not like going to a theater by myself watching this. Like, yeah, it was not at all an enjoyable movie-going experience for me.
I'm pissed that I had to go there and sit in a cold room and then come back and spend that time and pay money for it. Like, I'm upset about it, but it's okay. You know, we do it. This is why we do it. We do it. As you said, that's our thing.
Yeah,
you know,
we
waste time so you don't have to.
Exactly. Yeah. There was another meta thing I wanted to bring up. There was a lot of really, in my opinion, there was some cool camera work done in this. The over-the-shoulder shots where they didn't want to show the children for a second. There was some interesting stuff that was done, but then there was also like this constantly moving camera that felt way overused. It worked really well in a few scenes, but it was like it was the salt of this dish that like the right amount would have been great, but they just decided to dump a shitload in there, and it was just way too much.
Yeah, it's almost like they didn't realize that's not like the cool new technique from. It's because it's not 2002 anymore. Like,
True.
It's not the cool new technique, like shaky camera angle. I think the first movie I saw it in really heavily was either Collateral or one of the Bourne movies, and that like the first Bourne, and now that I think about it, it was overused, but it also might be overused in a lot more films that I recognize.
This specifically had those interesting like moments where the camera would turn and pan around someone and you would hear the audio fade from left to right. And like those were like, that was a cool touch if that was used like 1 or 2 times. The fact that they did that like 7 times, it was just like, all right, like someone in the cinematography department had a cool idea and they were like, all right, yeah, let's just use it over and over and over again. But
I will say that in the theater, the one scene where she's losing her hearing in one ear.
Yes.
And they simulate the sound. I legitimately thought there was something wrong with my ears.
That's
the way
funny.
it sounded, I was like, oh, okay, that's in the movie. That was kind of cool, I thought.
Honestly, Benny in chat just brought up a really good point. Like they were asking, so is this one of the times where the trailer is better than the movie? It's like, yeah, it actually really is. Like
1,000 times, yes.
Yeah, if the coolest part of this movie is the concept and the trailer gives away all of the concept, then yeah, you could literally like watch the trailer and then just like think about your own mortality and get the same in-depth experience that we got watching the entire movie. In my opinion, you're really not missing out. And even like we talked about earlier, the signature twist is not really something that like it's not great. Like it's not gonna be mind-blowing. Like yeah, in my opinion, yeah. Like I wish I would have just watched the trailer and then walked away, and that's all I had of this. But there's one other thing in the meta section that I wanted to bring up. The whole metaphor of the sandcastle, why the original book is called the sandcastle and everything. I thought that was really cool, where it's like just the temporary existence of everything, realizing that like, you know, maybe we feel like the things that we're doing in our life are building like real castles, and then I think like as you age you realize that they're all just sandcastles, that they're going to be gone like way quicker than you think. You're like what movie made me think about that so much too? What was the Disney animated Pixar movie about like the Day of the Dead and there was the afterworld? I forget the name of that movie.
Was it Coco? Was that the name?
I think, yeah, Coco. Thank you. Yeah. Where it's like the whole idea in that movie of there being like this permanent death where like when you die on Earth, you go to this afterlife area where as long as the people still on Earth remember you, you still exist there. But then when the last person that remembers anything about you dies, then that's your like permanent death. Like that stood out to me from this movie too. The whole like sandcastle metaphor where it's like you feel like you may be doing things on Earth that will leave a legacy of some sort, or leave some sort of history that when you're gone, something will be there. And then it's like, you don't realize that it's like, it is literally, it's just a sandcastle and the tide is coming in like right now.
All we are is dust in the wind, as they say. All we are is sand on the beach. You know what? I'm actually going to the beach tomorrow.
Are you?
I fucking hate the beach. I'm going to a place I hate to see people that I like. I'm building a fucking sandcastle. That's the first thing I'm doing.
Dude, honestly, you know me, I like building a lot. Like, I always play like games where you can build stuff and everything. So yeah, I've always really enjoyed like building sandcastles and shit.
And then I'm gonna alienate everybody that I'm with. I'm gonna stand up and like speak this long like metaphor about like what the castle is, and
do it. Yeah, film that. I want to see this.
Like, it's appropriate here, but like on a beach, all of a sudden someone's like, say, bitch, what are you talking about? I'm trying to get a sunburn over here. Leave me alone.
I'm trying to drink my Zima in peace. Do people still drink Zimas? Is that a thing?
I think they might. They might exist. I don't know. Wine coolers.
Oh yeah, hold on.
Bartle and James.
Hold on. Let me change that to the 2021 version. I'm trying to drink my White Claw in peace.
There you go.
No.
Yeah, you did. Actually, that translates directly to the current times.
Are you ready to self-reflect?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Are you doing it first?
You or
I
me
want
first?
you to do it first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, can you?
I can try my hardest. Yeah. So,
Okay.
I guess what this made me, not necessarily, I don't want to say like learn about myself, but realize about myself and want to change is with, like we were just talking about, the temporary existence of everything and how actually fast time really does go. That like, so films do this awesome thing where they let you see something through someone else's eyes, and maybe you don't have to make the same mistakes because you've seen someone else make these mistakes, and you can learn from someone else's mistakes. There is so much that we don't do in life because we feel like we have the time. We don't realize how short our time here really is in any sort of other scale. Like we were just talking about with like experiencing time in different scales. Like if you look at Earth on a geological scale or the universe on a cosmological scale, our existence here is nothing. It is so super fast. We feel like it's long for us because of that's how we experience it. But we don't get a lot of time. And a lot of times we put things off just simply because we feel like we have time to do it later. It was kind of cool seeing a human life boiled down to basically, you know, a day, to really drive home that point that it's like, you don't have a lot of time. And there are so many moments in this movie where they talk about like, oh, I would have done this if I had the time, or this doesn't matter now because we don't have the time. That really drove home to me like the idea of like, I do have the time right now. Like, I don't want to make these mistakes and regret things later. And I didn't do this because I thought I had time or anything like that. So it really, just kind of drove home the urgency of like making sure to do things while I do have the time and not leave it to be a regret. Coming to terms with the fact that it's like we always, when we're younger, we want to be older, and then all of a sudden you hit a certain age and you just want to be younger. There's this weird relationship that we have with time and aging that is very, very strange. And a lot of that is the coolest thing that I did get out of this movie is like, again, the things that it made me think about, where my mind went, and how I really want to use the time that I still have rather than waste it. Because like we waste so much time because we feel like we have so much, and then it goes so quickly and you realize that you do not have nearly as much time as you thought. What about you?
Yeah, I mean that's part of a few different things I thought about. That you do kind of take things for granted. You take your youth for granted. The thing that they say, the youth is wasted on the young. It's like a saying that you forget that we have this habit of thinking we're older or somehow more mature than we actually are. And there's a guy that lives near me. He's in his, I think he's like 56. And he and I were talking, and I said something about being young. I was like, I mean, I'm not that young. I was like, I'm in my 30s. He's like, no, you're a young guy. You're a young guy. It's like, he said it just like that. And I could hear in his voice that he was like, he understood that I didn't recognize what I had.
Yeah.
And I'm at this point now where I'm realizing that your 30s are actually a really, really, really cool time. And I've gotten old enough to kind of not take it for granted. Now, I like the fact that the film puts into light this idea that I didn't think about till now, that you think that wisdom comes from time, but there are some parts of wisdom that come from being close enough to dying that you know it's not forever. And then you realize what matters the most. And there's a scene where the two, the couple, I cannot remember their name, was it Guy and
Priscilla? I forget how it's actually pronounced.
So the two of them, they're talking, and they've had all these issues, and they got into some fight about whatever. And there's a certain point where he says to her, like, "Hey, look, I looked at your text messages, and all he has to say is, you deserve a better guy to have an affair with."
Yeah.
which is almost like a weird thing, but in some way it shows some degree of wisdom that he says, I didn't say it sooner because of my cowardice. But then he somehow doesn't blame her, but then she insists on taking responsibility for what she's done. And then at the end where they're just like about to fucking die and they just say, like, I don't know what we were fighting about, and I don't care. It's this whole thing you see like with couples that fight, like, and I'll quote the older couples I know, quote, cats and dogs. They fight like cats and dogs.
Okay.
And then they get older and they just don't do it anymore. And a lot of people attribute it to being tired, but I think it's more realizing what doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And
you realize what's important. Exactly. Yeah.
And that it's funny because you see the regrets. The therapist, she's saying that she needs to get back, that she doesn't have a good relationship with her sister, and her sister's older, but not now she's older.
Yep.
And you see these regrets that you have when you get older because of this petty shit that you worried about that didn't matter.
Yep. That was one line that really drove it home for me too, where it's like you're seeing someone regret something they didn't do when they had the time, and it's like, I've got the time right now. Do I have family members that I don't have a great relationship with that I should reach out for? Are there things that I haven't talked to my parents about that I need to, like, it's just recognize like what you have right now.
Yeah. And I mean, everyone takes something for granted, but
True.
It's important to try really hard to recognize what you might be taking for granted. Like, for me, like, and I talk about it all the time, but it's a big part of who I am. Like, I have a genetic muscle disease. I have muscular dystrophy. I will be in a wheelchair at some point, probably in my 50s. The fact that I can walk, like, that's something that, sorry, I can't talk about this and not get emotional. That's something that so many people take for granted. And like every single day, there's a moment where I'm walking somewhere and I'm like, I can do this thing right now.
Yep.
And there's going to be a moment where I wish this was happening.
Yeah.
And I see my one foot in front of the other. And I'm just like, this is nothing right now. Just walking is just, it's not a miracle to me right now.
Yeah.
But later it will be, you know? Yep. And it's like, and it's hard not to get emotional thinking about things like that, that you know for a fact this will happen. And this whole thought that I had, like when I first got diagnosed, I was like, oh, well, someday I'm not gonna be able to play guitar, and I won't be able to ride a motorcycle, and I'm not gonna be able to work out, and forget fucking jujitsu. And then I was like, wait a second. There was always gonna be a time.
Yeah.
It's just sooner now.
Yeah.
And in some ways I can relate. When that time is closer, it creates more of an appreciation for it. And there's just moments where people tell you, like, don't forget this moment. You'll never get this again. Anything from jumping out of an airplane for the first time with a parachute, obviously skydiving.
I was going to say, that sounds like the last time.
Like that last episode we did in the Music Dudes, where Craig said he wished he could hear like Julian Baker for the first time too.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, you just, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm always long-winded in this section.
No,
But
it's fine.
like,
I mean, it's supposed to be one of the main focuses of what we do here.
Yeah.
So I completely appreciate it. But no, I think you're really hitting the nail on the head that it's like there is, I mean, especially for younger people listening, you know, it's like realize like, cause I mean, like we talked about, we're still young to some degree, but we're not as young as we were, you know, 10 years ago or whatever. It's like, yeah, there's still like, there's definite huge amounts of time and moments that I've wasted because I just thought that it was infinite. You know, like, I mean, I knew logically that it wasn't, but never took into consideration that how short it really is.
Yeah. I had someone in their 40s tell me they would give anything to be my age. And I was like, oh. It was something that I hadn't realized that someone could miss being my age.
Exactly. Yeah,
like,
I know, right? Yeah. You don't view it as like a beneficial thing or anything, or like a envious position to be in until like someone else talks to you and you're like, oh shit, yeah, I do have this that is still good. Yeah, because you just look at someone in their 20s and be like, oh, I wish I could be that age.
And you know, it's like I a couple Thanksgivings ago, one of my sisters said that she wanted to talk about what everybody was thankful for, and I took the floor for a while. It got around to me, and I fucking rattled off a bunch of shit, and a lot of it is that, I mean, yeah, I do talk a lot, but the reason, not you, you're not on a show that requires you to talk a shitload. And I just rattled off a whole bunch of stuff, and I became somewhat irritated because it seemed like the rest of my family thought I went overboard, and I was like, there's no such thing.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as going overboard about like what you're thankful for.
Yeah, what you're not taking for granted.
Right. Right, exactly. And you know, I recognize, in closing, I recognize that I will always take some things for granted.
Of course.
But I try really hard on a regular basis to notice that there are things that I should appreciate, and I would encourage other people to do the same, because you never know when you might end up on an island that makes you age way, what's it, 30 times faster, whatever.
Yeah, something like that. I think, yeah, you're 100% right with that one right there, where like it's human nature to take certain things for granted. We get super acclimated to the position that we're in, and but if you just make it a point to every so often take a mental inventory and focus on like, hold on, what am I taking for granted? What do I actually need to be grateful about? What do I need to do differently? Like, yeah, I think that can be a major learning lesson and a turning point in life. So do you want to get a little less serious and talk about movie crushes now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mentioned earlier, I have two answers for this. I have the answer that I want to give, and then I have the answer that I have to give because the first answer is so wrong. So, I mean, if I'm going to be 100% honest, I do think, God, I can't even say it. I can't even say it. Like,
we're all thinking it, Ty. We're all thinking it.
The pick I want to make is Maddox. First of all, Thomasin McKenzie is gorgeous. The character is really easy to get along with in the movie. Seems like a cool person. However, there's a major problem that she's basically 11. So that can't be an actual pick. I recognize that that's just very wrong. There's no way to defend that. The
actors in their 20s.
But it's character. It's supposed to be about the character, not the actor.
Okay.
And that's where it's like literally, I mean, the character is sure physically 16, which that's already wrong, and mentally 11, which that's way more wrong. I mean, first, the actor herself is only 21, just turned 21. That's already too young for me. We can't even start to begin to talk about the role she's then playing. So my real answer then, my honest answer, I'm going to go with Jaren. I think that character was, out of everyone in the movie, the one that I would get along with the most. The one that I would probably, he seemed like a really nice dude. He had some interesting things to say. That, honestly, I'm picking like lesser of evils here. Not like, oh, Jaren's awesome. More like I found most of the characters in this movie pretty insufferable. And if I'm going to give an answer for this, that's the one I would want to hang out with. You have a really confused look on your face.
That's just a weird answer. I mean, like, I don't know what else I expected. This movie is really it's slim pickings for a movie crush on this one.
That's what I'm saying. It's definitely like a lesser of seven evils or whatever. But I mean, don't you think Jaren would? Do you not think if you went out and had just a night out with Jaren that you would not have a good time? He seemed just like a good dude. He was always like honest, straightforward. Like seems like he would be able to hold the other end of a conversation. Like yeah.
Oh, you know, there's something that I forgot to mention about this. Our moms are both nurses.
True.
There is this constant sort of thing that I hear nurses say, not just my mother, but also some of the people she works with, about this constant like disrespect that some doctors have toward nurses.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them, but there's some that can be really, really condescending. And that's one thing. You know, Jaren would not take any shit from no doctors.
True. Yep.
Because he didn't take shit from the schizophrenic one in this one.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's really, like I'm saying, it was like, it's not like that character super stood out to me. It's just that it's like out of what I had to pick from. It's like, yeah, I guess that's what I would do.
Can you tell I'm stalling?
Yeah, I don't think you don't even have an answer yet, do you?
Oh no, I do.
Okay.
It's just terrible and cheating.
It's terrible and cheating. All right, who is it? I want to hear it.
My movie crush is actually an unnamed character. It's the resort manager.
Oh my God. What?
Yeah, because he just wanted Bruno to love him.
Okay, hold on. That's a different character.
I told you I'm cheating.
You are totally cheating. That is so cheating. What is the character's actual name? Resort man. Oh, it is just literally just resort manager.
He's not named. It is resort manager. I mean, okay, fine. If you insist that I don't cheat.
Yeah, because let's explore that one. The dude knows what he's doing. We just talked about how morally wrong what he's doing is. Is that really someone you want to spend some time with?
I only picked him because he plays another character in another movie that I actually liked. But if you haven't seen Bruno, like maybe don't. But I love it, and I think my girlfriend is upset that I made her sit through it recently. I was like, you haven't seen Bruno? It's like, I can't wait to torture you for over an hour. Okay, so if I had to really pick one, I think without cheating, I just really like Mid-Sized Sedan.
He did seem cool. Okay, I could go for that.
He's just a dude that wants to be understood, that's just hiding all the time. And he seems like one of those guys, like where, you know, for me, the scene where he's talking to Maddox, like I would feel privileged if somebody that lived in the public eye that just wanted to be really seen by somebody in a way that was genuine decided to just open up to me. I think that would be cool. So I get it. I mean, you know, he's just doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, you know, kind of hiding in plain sight, putting up walls and barriers and creating images and trying to convince people he's something a little bit different than he is, maybe for personal gain or for other people's expectations. So, I mean, I can relate to the dude, and he seems like he'd just be like a really cool dude to sit around and compare diseases with.
I think that's a pretty good pick, honestly, because not only would he be great just to sit around and chill with, but also like if you wanted to have a crazy night out, I mean, he's a famous rapper. So like if you're a good friend of his, like, yeah, you could probably be at like crazy parties. So, yeah, that's a good pick. Good. All right, favorite line. Goddamn, the dialogue was so bad in this movie that it was really hard to pick a favorite line. So I mentioned earlier, I did have a favorite line, but I wasn't able to jot it down in the theater quickly enough to get it verbatim. But it's when Crystal was talking to the kids, it was like, I loved a man named Giuseppe. For some reason, that line just fucking cracked me up. I thought that was hilarious, but it also makes sense that it's kind of like, it's one of those things where you know, growing up, you have all sorts of people that are older than you that are trying to tell you all of the shit that we just talked about in the like self-reflection section. We're like, stuff goes too fast, don't take stuff for granted, pay attention to what you have. Like, but you hear all of that and it just goes in one ear and out the other. And that's kind of like a microcosm of what we saw there, of like this woman trying to pass on this knowledge and experience that she had to these like younger people, but like it just comes off as like the incoherent rambling of an old lady talking about a dude named Giuseppe. So I did like that line for multiple reasons, but I'm not sure the right wording of it. But the line that I did actually choose, I think this one is great because personally for me, like I have a big problem with like imposter syndrome, where I never feel like I'm supposed to be where I am, or that I'm like good enough or up, you know, like up to code for like what's going on. Like it happens in my job all the time, happens in like so many areas of life. And I think it happens with like aging too, where like you get to a certain age and you feel like you're supposed to feel a certain way, and you don't. You feel just like how you felt previously. I wonder if everybody continues to feel like a kid that when they're our age, or is it just because we were kids yesterday? I thought that was a cool line, because it is like, in my opinion, it is like that, where it's not like on the day that I turned 18, I woke up and it's like, oh, I feel like an adult now. You know, it's like you always feel like a kid that's body just got bigger. Sure, you've been around longer, you've, you know, had more experiences, you've gained some wisdom, but I still very often just feel like I'm a kid floundering, trying to do what I'm supposed to do in an adult world. And it's like, well, how do I adult? I don't know what to do with my hands. Yeah, so that line kind of resonated with me, though. I liked that. What about you?
I picked a line because it's a silly line, but I recently I had a situation in which I was able to relate to it. So, as some of you may or may not know, I started streaming recently on Twitch, and I was told that Instagram is a good way to promote things, and I had to get my girlfriend to explain to me the interface on Instagram because it didn't make sense to me. I couldn't figure out exactly how to, and I was like, swipe left. Why the fuck would I do that? You see that thing right there? Like, yeah, it looked like a camera? Yes, yes. It's like, well, you tap that, and then you take it. You can take it with that. And I was like, but wait, that's a video. What do you? And then I just became very, very, very confused. And then I didn't know, like, is it videos? Is it pictures? How long is the caption? Like, what? I don't know. I didn't understand it. So
that's what I meant about TikTok recently, where I was saying I didn't get it yet. Like, yeah, it's all of that stuff is exactly what I meant. Yeah.
Like I get TikTok. I need to put it back on my phone. I haven't been on there in a while. I was wasting a lot of time on TikTok. But this is just a line that reflects that kind of hilarious cluelessness that older people, and particularly parents, have. It's kind of a throwaway line, but I love it. What's his surname? Sedan?
Yeah, that's good.
Did you ever see? Did you
go ahead?
Did you watch Silicon Valley?
Not all of it, but no, I've seen some episodes.
There's a party where Flo Rida is performing, and the host is like a really nerdy like CEO of a tech firm. And after he gets done playing or performing, he's like, "Thanks, Florida."
Yeah,
like
Mr. Rida.
Yeah, Mr. Rida. Yeah, I'm sorry. You let me speak for that. I'm sorry you wasted that.
No, I don't find that way. But dude, that is one of the things that really, like, I crack up that the character's name was Midsize Sedan, but like that just, it doesn't work for a thriller. Like, that's one of those moments I talked about where it's breaking the tension. Like, every time they talked about the dude's name, it was just like one of those chuckle moments. It's like you're trying to build tension in this, and then you just destroy it by reminding us that the dude's name is Midsize Sedan. But
yeah, there were way too many that I heard in the theater, me included, that should not have happened during this film. M. Night Shyamalan, good luck on your next piece of work.
Yeah.
We'll give you a chance next time.
Yeah.
Mainly because we want to save other people from you in case you.
Well, and I'll give him a chance because he has released multiple movies that I've really enjoyed, and I know he has the ability in him. I've seen him do it. So speaking about giving something a chance, coming up soon. I know almost nothing about 9 Days. What we're talking about next week.
I need to actually look it up. I forgot
So it does look like
actually...
this is another one that's only going to be theaters, I believe.
No. Oh, I remember this one.
Yeah, the poster's cool. The movie poster is really cool. It's supposed to be a supernatural drama. It's written and directed by Edson Oda, which I don't recognize that name at all. It's got one of the Skarsgårds in it. It's got Bill Skarsgård. It's got Benedict Wong. I like both of those actors. It's
that's
got
why we picked it.
Yeah, Winston
we picked
Duke.
it for the two of them,
him
right?
too. Yeah. So I mean, I'm excited to see it. It did win. It won the Waldo Salt Screenwriting Award at the Sundance Film Festival. It was nominated for 2 Independent Spirit Awards. So I mean, it's got some critical reviews look good. But I don't know what to expect going in. Haven't seen any sort of trailer, haven't seen anything. So yeah, I don't really know. But if you guys want to hear us talk about 9 Days, we will be doing that in exactly 7 days. Did you get that? That was a good joke, right?
I got it. I was slapping my knee off camera.
Oh, okay, that's what that was. I heard that that slapping in the background. I couldn't tell what it was.
Oh, you heard that?
Yeah, I've been hearing it for the past 20 minutes. Yeah, you've been slapping your knee a lot.
Yep. Yeah. That's what it was.
like me cleaning my phone screen. I got it
Yeah.
I promise. I'm just wiping my screen. All right, guys. That is going to bring us to the end of another episode of the Metacast Movie Show. If you are watching this on YouTube and you've enjoyed our discussion, please hit the like button, subscribe to keep up to date with the show, and comment below and tell us how you felt about Old.
If you would love the opportunity to grow old with us on an enchanted island, or if you want to further keep up to date, or even just join us as a guest on a future episode, please join our Discord. The link is in the description below. Also, you can catch me on Twitch, distance_x. We will be live next week on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/TylaTV.
Thank you, everyone, for watching, and I hope we all have a great week.